Imagine a world where the Mongol Empire never collapsed. A world where the thunder of hooves echoed across centuries, and the descendants of Genghis Khan ruled not just the steppes, but the cities, oceans, and skies of the modern world. How different would our lives be if the largest empire in history had never fallen? At its peak in the 13th century, the Mongol Empire stretched from the Pacific Ocean to the edges of Europe, controlling more land than any other empire in history. But after Genghis Khan's death, internal divisions and rebellions fractured his empire, leaving behind only legends. But what if the empire had stayed united, adapting, modernizing, and surviving into the 21st century? Let's step into an alternate timeline. First, imagine the Mongol rulers avoiding the brutal succession wars that tore them apart. Instead of splintering, the empire builds institutions, adopts new technologies, and integrates conquered peoples into a lasting system of governance. Trade routes like the Silk Road flourish even more, connecting east and west under Mongol protection. In this timeline, the Mongols don't just dominate the past, they shape the future. By the time Europe begins the age of exploration, the Mongols are already masters of global trade. They control ports in China, Persia, and the Mediterranean, blocking European colonization before it begins. Instead of Britain, Spain, and Portugal carving up the world, it's Mongol fleets sailing across the Atlantic. Imagine North America colonized not by Europeans, but by Mongol settlers and warriors. As centuries pass, the empire evolves. The Mongols embrace firearms industry and railroads, but never lose their horse-riding military culture. Steamships with dragon banners cross the seas. Trains powered by coal thunder across Eurasia, linking Beijing to Baghdad, Moscow to Delhi. The Mongol Empire becomes the engine of industrial progress, an unstoppable superpower. Now picture the 20th century. While the rest of the world experiments with democracy and nation-states, the Mongol Empire remains a centralized superstate ruled by a Khan, modernized but still carrying the legacy of Genghis. World War I and World War II look very different. Without fractured Europe dominating global politics, the Mongols stand as the deciding force. Would Hitler or Stalin even rise in a world already dominated by the descendants of the great Khan? In today's world, the Mongol Empire would likely be the largest nation on Earth, spanning Asia, Europe, and parts of Africa and the Americas. Mongolian culture, its language, traditions, and steppe heritage, would be global. Horseback archery might be celebrated like soccer is today. Buddhism and shamanistic traditions could rival Christianity and Islam in influence. And in technology, with control over global resources, the Mongols might lead space exploration, planting their flag on the Moon and Mars before anyone else. Picture rockets with the symbol of the Khan launching from the steppes of Central Asia into the stars. International relations would be unrecognizable. Instead of the United States, China, or Russia as superpowers, there would be only one, the Great Mongol Empire. The United Nations? Perhaps unnecessary because global governance already lies in the hands of the Khan. Borders would barely exist. The concept of East versus West might never arise, because under the Mongols there is only one empire, one system, one global order. But would this be a utopia or a nightmare? The Mongols ruled with both tolerance and brutality. They encouraged trade, but they also crushed resistance with overwhelming violence. A surviving Mongol empire might mean less freedom, fewer independent nations, and centuries of authoritarian control under a single dynasty. Innovation might thrive under empire, or be stifled by its dominance. So, what if Genghis Khan's empire survived into modern times? We might live in a world united under a single banner, where Mongolian is the global language, where horse archery is a sport as big as football, and where rockets marked with the seal of the Khan explore the stars. It's a world both fascinating and terrifying, because sometimes the greatest what-ifs remind us just how fragile history really is. One rebellion, one leader's death, one twist of fate, and the world we know could have been utterly different.